Anxiety is an overlearning that bad things happen. So, for a lot of people with anxiety or just intrusive thinking or that type of thinking in which you're always playing like that horrible movie in your mind of all the worst things that could happen, that's because the mind has learned that the world is a place in which bad things happen. And so it's trying to prepare you for all of these bad things that are going to happen. But anxiety is a disconnect between the reality and your mind. And so, if realistically these things are very improbable in happening, that typically means you have anxiety. And so, why does it exist? It's because the mind overlearned. And that means that the mind is over predicting that these bad things will happen. So, why would this happen to you? Like, why would the mind overlearn like this? Typically, the mind overlearns after a bad thing happens to you. So this might be in childhood, this might be in adulthood, maybe you get laid off from a job, maybe you separate from a partner, and that's a bad thing. That's an extremely painful thing to happen. And so the mind learns, really bad things can happen to me and I will be in so much pain when they do. And so the mind tries to compensate by warning you all of the time, like, hey, bad things happen, watch out. This can also happen as well from being raised by parents who are highly anxious. So if you're a child and your parents raise you in this kind of mindset that the world is a really dangerous place, bad things are going to happen to you, then you typically have anxiety as well. And so you might now think like, well, what do I do about this? So the mind can actually be retrained. Typically, it needs to be retrained in the combination between mind and body, because anxiety is not just in the mind, it's in the body. But you can retrain your mind to kind of unlearn this anxiety, to unlearn that the world is an unsafe place where bad things will happen to you. This is typically a process, and it needs to be very repetitive and mechanistic almost, because the process that taught you that the world was unsafe was also repetitive. And so you saw all of these anxious thoughts over and over and over again, and now you have a mind that's highly anxious. So you can undo this, but it takes quite a bit of work. If this is something you're interested in hearing more about, you're welcome to schedule an intro session with me, but I can post some resources below as well for you all to start learning on how to deprogram your mind out of anxiety. But I think it's really helpful to think about anxiety in this way, in that it's an overlearning that the world is a dangerous place. So next time when you have those anxious thoughts in your mind, just realize that's what your mind is trying to do. It's trying to warn you of things that are bad, that it thinks it's going to happen. But the only problem that's happened here is that your mind has overlearned. It's just engaged in too much learning of this bad thing is going to happen idea, and now it's very, very hyper vigilant for bad things happening.